Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. Sunday, October the 26th, 2025, and today's topic is a continuation from yesterday's video, which is about the next logical step. But before we begin, welcome back if you're returning and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day and I use a timer to stay focused and to build a habit. I'll start a 10-minute timer. So yeah, today I'm going to work on this. I will put up a before and after picture somewhere around here. So I recorded this. It took me 30 minutes. I time-lapsed. And yeah, so I'll put that after this. And then I'm going to kind of talk about like how I would proceed. And then I'll come back and kind of talk about that. So I haven't touched this since yesterday. There's a lot of different things. One, like here, for example, can actually, so this is like going into detail now. And so you take your time at this point because the previous part was like cooking or like baking the dish. And so it's baked in, so to speak. This next part is like the icing on the cake if we're making a cake. So for example, like these areas, they can actually be pushed. And there's different ways you could do it. Like I use this brush pen. This is like a Tombow brush pen. So from yesterday, I mentioned the next logical step would be to look up some reference. So yeah, I looked up a sailboat. So that's one thing I'll work on today. I looked up like a seascape, like ocean, like a nighttime ocean kind of thing. Like how in the photos of like a night sky, you might have some little stars and stuff, and so you can define that a little bit more. So like right now, like that's not a bad look, and that's kind of the finish, which is a little different than like detail. It could be finished, but it's just kind of like up to you. But I think I can detail it more, and by detail I just mean more definition. So one thing is, so this is about making the picture look good at this point. This is the icing on the cake. So I'm going to think about this. And you can start to see so notice it's just the shapes are smaller. And so it starts to look more detailed. And so that's what I mean about like push, like you're just pushing that back. And when you do that, you pull certain things forward. And it just has more definition. Some of this has to do with the idea of edges. So I'm doing this because this kind of thing is not as hard edged as that. Like that's like a hard edge. Same with this. Like this is a shape, but it has like a soft edge. At this point, since this is about like next logical steps, well, the next logical step to me, like once, so the light and dark has been established. Like at this point, I wouldn't change any of that. However, what I'm thinking about as far as details, so it's kind of like what I was saying there, like the definitions, like defining things, but then also like edges and also blending. That's kind of another way to think about it. So for example, if I want to blend, which is to say like push that back, like the value, or push the value, or like blend it, then it's just a matter of like how do you want to do that. So just to begin with, this is the main look, like that's like the pen stroke. So this is the look. Same with like this, like that's from this pen. But then I was also using like this like brush pen. That might be a good way to go, like just to go like a broader kind of look, or you could have stuck with the one. It takes longer to fill in all of this. If you're not sure like how to blend, I would go with like the main look. The reason that I move the picture around is because of the finish. So what I mean by finish is, notice how like the pen strokes, like it looks definite like this. I wouldn't call this that detailed, but I would call it finished. Like it could be like the finish, versus the initial kind of sketch isn't the finish because it was sketchy. It was more kind of searching and exploring. So I'm just going to go along. So a few things. If you're not sure, then I'd go back to like this look, the medium. Now you could have used the brush pen. It probably would have looked okay. It's just, it's more bold. I mean, that's the thing. And you could have more subtlety. You could actually use a finer point later. In the initial sketch, in that step, the next step was basically to go from light to dark, which is the light is the white of the paper to as soon as you sketch something, like that's like the dark, carving out like the light and dark. So light to dark. Now that it's been established, like this is the light to dark. So this is the light right here. And then those are like the dark areas. Now I'm going from like dark to light, meaning I'm blending it. I'm consolidating, and I'm also pushing values, which makes it look more finished. If like the range of values, because that's like the darkest that it'll go. It doesn't always have to look, it looks more contrasty like this. I could have just done this look on the whole thing and it wouldn't be as contrasty. This shape, so this is a shape that has like a soft edge. So I might go in and define the shape, but I'm going to use a small pen and I'm going to keep it not outlined. Like I'm not going to draw. So there's like a shape right here, but I'm not going to outline it. And if you want it to look more finished, then you just are more definite, kind of like this. I'm just going to go over it, but I'm going to stay within that like the line or like the shape, see? So that added detail, but I didn't redraw it because the drawing is this shape right here. But it looks more detailed because the lines are, the shapes are smaller, which is to say like the lines are smaller because I'm using pen. And part of this is coming from reference because I don't know like what the water should look like. And so what I've noticed, for example, is these smaller shapes. So like, for example, like right here, that represent like the smaller waves. But notice I'm not going to draw into stuff. What I'm doing is I'm defining the bigger shapes into smaller shapes. And this could be like a small paintbrush, for example. A little bit like if you want to have these smaller shapes, you could go like this. So what you're doing is you're kind of blending like that. These are details. These are like fine details. But one thing is I'm picturing that a boat needs to have, like it could have more definite, like more of a defined sort of like this front area. So that's like an outline. And sometimes that's what you need. And basically like an edge, that's like a hard edge. And also I'm pushing this back, like this, the white of the paper here, which is a value. I'm pushing it backwards, like towards like the value of like the sky. And obviously it just takes some practice and some mess ups and stuff. This one I haven't really had to fix. I mean, there's like little areas, for example, as I was defining the boat, because I wasn't exactly sure what the boat is supposed to look like. I mean, there are some parts where I could have messed it up. I don't think I did. But before I add any details, I just want to be a little bit more sure. Same with up here. So some of this is just like artistic decision and not like a rule. So for example, I want it to look a little bit more like a night sky, like all of this could be dark. So part of it is I want the focal point to be right here. But that's basically how I would proceed. And it's kind of almost done. I never really know when it's done. I just set a timer. As soon as I'm not really that sure, which is what overwork is, because you're just kind of messing with it. Usually within 30 minutes to an hour, you'll kind of know. Like within 30 minutes, like you probably have done whatever you were going to do. And then if you really can see it after 30 minutes, then probably another 30 minutes. And then after that, especially for stuff like this, you kind of want to step away, because stuff like this, like pen and ink, there's really no room for messing around with it. And that's kind of why I like it. That's the challenge. It's a very definite medium. And it may not need a lot more details. And every piece is kind of its own thing. So Alright, so I'm adding this on to the end of the previous video because I actually ended up working on this for about an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and got this far, and I like it. This is the thing about details, is that, for example, I went in with white paint right here, maybe add a little bit of these little details. I mean, I don't know exactly what a boat should look like, but I think this will work because, I mean, they look different, but yeah, like blended and like pushed back different things and kind of had this thing going to make it look more like waves. And at this point I would definitely leave it. I thought in the previous one I would leave it, but I just saw too many things I wanted to do, and so yeah, I think it looks quite a bit different, but at the same time still using the sketch and like the steps, because that was like the purpose. One thing about it is that I don't want to make it seem like it's just like 1, 2, and then 3, and then you're finished. It can go in different directions, and the initial idea is there to just kind of guide you, kind of like the North Star. But yeah, that'll be it for now. I want to thank you for joining me for our daily sketching routine, and if you enjoy these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.